welcome to another edition of Grace Under Pressure, where my guest today is Ayse Birsel. I will tell you all about her in just a moment. Grace Under Pressure is the show that deals with what's often called the soft stuff, the caring, the commitment, and compassion we exert toward others. And when you do it as a leader, as you will discover that Ayse is, you do it to bring people together and you mobilize them for the greater good. Welcome, Ayse Birsel.
John Baldoni, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Great. I want to tell everybody about you. Ayse, a native of Turkey, was named one of Fast Company's most creative people in 2017. She's the author of Design the Life You Live, a step-by-step guide to building a meaningful future. She's on the Thinkers 50 short list for thinkers, and she writes a regular column on innovation for Inc. magazine. She is by trade and continues to be a designer and a much in demand designer. She's worked for companies you may have heard of like Amazon, Colgate-Palmolive, Herman Miller, GE, IKEA, and you name it. She's received many awards, many awards, including Best Interior Designer of the Year, and multiple IDEA Awards, which stands for Industrial Design Excellence Awards. And she teaches at Pratt as well. So Ayse, welcome to Grace Under Pressure.
Thank you, John. Thank you for that great intro.
Great. I have crossed paths with you a few times, and you are a fellow member of Marshall Goldsmith 100 Coaches. Since you have such a distinguished career as a designer, what made you want to write a book called Design Your Life?
So, John, I think that our life is our biggest design project. And like a design project, it's full of challenges and problems, opposing needs and wants, and there are other stakeholders and that you need to satisfy, but you're the user of your own life, and so you need to have empathy for yourself and kindness. So it truly is like a design project. And when I developed my design thinking process, deconstruction, reconstruction, I thought, well, if my life is my biggest design project, can I apply this design process to my life? And that started as an experiment and then got a lot of traction. It grew word of mouth. And then eventually I wrote a book about that to share it with everyone.
Well, it is a terrific book. And sadly, I don't have a copy in front of me because I have given mine away. And my best story about that, Ayse, is I was doing some coaching, mentoring with some university students. And there was a young man I was dealing with. And something about it, I said, he could use this book. And I gave it to him. And there was a little bit of a study hour. And he dove right into it, not 5 minutes after I had given it to him. And so that book I know is transformative. And I know so many of our colleagues, Ayse, have found such great wisdom in that book and in your teaching. So there's a design for what you want to accomplish. Explain what that means exactly in book form. So
what I'm doing is I'm taking the design tools and processes that I use in my professional work and giving it to everyone who's interested in creating their own roadmap for life. And really the idea is today, things have changed so much, especially post-COVID or during and post-COVID, but even before, like the old roadmaps that you and I probably grew up with were very similar, and the world was cookie cutter, and now it's not. You can't give a roadmap to your kids because everybody's kind of on their own, and we need to create our own roadmap. So what I do is I suggest, well, why don't we create our own original roadmap using design thinking tools? So that's the idea.
I want to ask you just a sidebar question because you alluded to it in our very first conversation when you talked about design and you have clients. As individuals, do we have clients? Is there a connection there, Ayse? So,
I I think so. I like saying that, like, remind people that you're the user of your own life, but then you have these kind of concentric circles because none of us are alone. We're social animals. So you have to figure out your own life design, but beyond that, our clients are our family, our friends, our uh, actual professional clients, or teams, bosses, and it kind of grows to our community, then to our neighborhood and our country and the world. So, our decisions actually influence all these people, and but first you have to start with yourself.
okay. And you begin in a very designerly way, if I may, with the idea of the warm up. What is a warm up, Ayse? So,
The warm up is actually something that we all do. If we exercise, physically, we go to a gym, we warm up and we stretch our muscles. The warm up that I talk about is the creative equivalent of that. It's really waking up your creative muscles and stretching them a little bit before diving into the actual creative process. And the warm up could be incredibly simple. It could be taking pen and paper and drawing something that you see. It could be taking a coloring book and coloring something. It could be taking a photograph. It simply is a quick, simple entryway.
right. Now, Ayse, I want a personal revelation because for many years I thought I took a design class, or not a design class, a drawing class in my last semester of college, and I very
You
nearly
did?
flunked it. But so I grew up for a long time thinking I could not draw. But so when somebody says to you, Ayse, I love what it is, but I can't draw, what do you say? So,
I just asked them, do you remember when you were 5? That's all you need to draw. Just remember your childhood, how you picked up a crayon and you did stick figures. That's the kind of drawing I'm talking about. No masterpieces. It's just being able to get your ideas out of your head and onto paper. Writing is one way of doing it, and drawing or mapping it out is another way of doing
yeah.
it. And we
Well,
need
I think in
both.
some, as a designer, I think I am so respectful of your talents because it's a different part of our brain, in my sense, that what you're using. So, if we have somebody who works in words, as do I, and then you challenge me to draw, I'm getting away from something. I think it's a freeing effort. Do you find it that way, Ayse? So.
Uh, Definitely. And I think, John, from your book, I know you write poetry. So you could express a design idea in poetry as well. So
Great. Well, thanks. So you have something in the fundamental to the book. It's the four quadrants. What are they, and what is their relevance? So.
I'm so glad you brought up quadrants, because it's a very simple technique to remember to think holistically and see the big picture. The four quadrants are emotional, physical, intellectual, and spiritual. And the idea here is to make sure that you're looking at something from different directions and acknowledging that some things go through the heart, some things go through our brain, some things go through our skin, and some things are bigger than life, and that's where the spirit comes into place. And we want to be able to balance all of them, or at least think about them, even if we can't resolve all four quadrants. So that's the idea.
And it's a very powerful concept, and I know you probably know the work of Stu Friedman at Wharton, who deals with the domains of our life, is similar to yours. But what's so powerful about your things is both the emotional, the physicality, and the cognitive. Because I think in our world so much, we're knowledge creatures, and we kind of forget about our body. Do you sense that, Ayse? So.
I think it's really individual. Some people are very intellectual and they forget their emotions. Some people are very physical, so to them, physicality is really important. They don't forget that, but they might forget the intellect. And where I come from, I mean, everything I do is from the industrial design lens, which is truly my training. And so I think about the chair. There's some chairs out there that are physically incredibly comfortable, but oh my God, like intellectually, they're like a copy of another chair. So they don't have intellectual integrity. You have other chairs that are maybe intellectually very superior, but physically not comfortable at all, or they have no spirit. So it's you could think about even products in this way. And then I just wanted to bring that to our life and work, and which is really the application of design process to our life and work, is really looking at taking all
Well, I
that
think
and bringing
yeah,
it to life. Yeah.
I think what you're doing is you're seeking the integration of those different domains of our life, which we need to acknowledge, as you say. And it may not be a balance, but it's an integration. Do you agree with that? So,
Yeah, I talk about it in terms of cross-fertilization, right? Finding different patterns in different industries or domains and bringing them into new domains. And then that allows us to think about things differently and break our preconceptions.
right. Now, you talked about getting to a fundamental form, and you have different, or you talked about different modes of expression, which are the vision or poetry, or drawing. So, why is it? What does that do for us, Ayse? So,
That is also something that I realized working with these large corporations as my clients, is that you have people from different disciplines and they understand things based on their own training and language. So some people understand mathematics very well, other people the written word, other people, they only understand prototypes and models. So what I'm trying to do is encourage people to use these different mediums or expressions so that we're better understood. That's really the point of it.
well, so, and I think that's the beauty of one of the many elements that makes your book, Design Your Life, so powerful is we are communicating, we are developing. You give us an outline or a roadmap, but we fill it in with how we express ourselves. Am I correct in that? So,
absolutely. So there's two things to consider. One is expressing it for ourselves, and then the other piece is, every design project is a collaboration, including our life. So once you have a great idea for your life, you also need to communicate it to other people in your life so that they can help you and they can get on board. So the other piece of the expression, the importance of it is to have something to share with others, your family, your your team, you name it.
that's a good concept because when at first blush we want to say just design your life, it seems very personal, which it is. But you integrate the community or your family, whatever your stakeholders, if you will, around you. Am I correct in that? So, yeah.
Absolutely, and this goes back to one of the design principles in my book is collaboration. Today, design is such that no one person can really do it, and you need different experts. And same thing for our life, you need different experts to come and help you. So that's the idea.
Great. Well, you have something in there about the book about the importance of heroes. Why did you add that dimension,
Oh yeah,
Ayse?
I that actually is one of the best things about this whole process that I discovered. Here's is about inspiration, because when you're creating something, whether you're writing a book or you're doing a painting or you're designing a product, you need inspiration, and inspiration is finding the solution in different places. And so when it came to teaching people how to design their life, I was like, what would be the inspiration? And I realized inspiration in our life is other people. And I call them heroes because they're people that we admire or are interested in. And they can be people we know or we know of. And the whole point of it, what inspiration and these people, our heroes, lead us to is better understanding our values. Because what we see in our heroes are our own values. And the values then become the foundation of our life design.
I like that. That's how I actually motivate or inspire myself. It's people in history or artists admire whomever, our colleagues. Your work inspires me, and I take richness in that. And I go, what can I learn from Ayse? And so that's. I'm glad you anchored that, because it's part of self-understanding too, knowing who our heroes are.
So actually, John, tell me one of your heroes.
So
maybe a historical figure.
Actually, yeah. For historically, I always go to Abraham Lincoln. So
okay. And what do you notice about Lincoln that inspires you?
I think what Lincoln teaches us is perseverance through adversity, being fully human, acknowledging one's humanity, being compassionate. And, he worked in he was president during the most tumultuous times of our country. The country was split in two, and yet he sought the union and bring it together. But it was a spirit of bringing people. At the same time, he remained very human. And why I say that is, he was a great storyteller, and he loved to laugh, and he loved the theater, and so he always kept his humanity about him in some very challenging times. So I like him for his vision, but also his sense of compassion and humanity. So
then I'll take Abraham Lincoln, your hero, and turn him back to you and say, John, one of your values in life is perseverance through adversity. And like your hero, you're an incredible human being, a great storyteller, you're compassionate, and you know how to lead people through tumultuous times and bring them together. So that's you.
Thank you.
And in fact, I know you, so I can say these confidently, that I see these qualities in you, but these are your values. And knowing that, and I think you know your values, but for a lot of people, kind of as they design their life, I just want to bring the values to the forefront, because that's how we make choices.
Right.
Yes, that's how you design your life, basically.
Our values orient us to where we are going, and they shape us, and they enrich us, and they challenge us too. Am I living up to my values? Is this really what I want? Is this really the kind of person I want to be? And at least for myself, I know I'm a frail human being, so I don't always live up to my values, Ayse.
Well, and I'm so glad you say that, because I think values are not a given thing. They require hard work, and they need to be remembered. And I often think that in challenging times, we forget or we ignore our values, and it's important to reconnect with them.
Great. Now, related to this, but I think, and we've talked about designing the four quadrants and those, and then you have something called reconstruction, not in the not in the post-Civil War sense, but what does reconstruction mean, Ayse? So,
my process is one of deconstruction, reconstruction, and often a lot of people talk about and know deconstruction, taking something apart, but rarely talk about, well, what do you do with those parts? You have to put them back together somehow. And in putting them together, you need to make choices leave some things out, delete certain things, maybe add new parts or combine different parts in new ways. And that's really reconstruction. It's acknowledging that you need to put it back together, but you can't have everything. So
Right.
which part are you going to choose? That's one side of it. And the other side of it is really about permutation of ideas. Often business people want the simple thing of like, give me one answer. There's not one answer. There are multiple ways of doing something and solving a problem. And if you can reconstruct in multiple ways and then say, well, which one of these is the best solution? That really is the practice.
Now, I know you are absorbed in an exciting new project and a new book, and it's called Design the Long Life You Love. Why this topic? What drew you to this, Ayse?
This actually, John, came at the end of a 1.5 year long research into aging and co-designing life with people who were 65 and older. And we did this with the SCAN Foundation, which is a nonprofit in the aging world based in California. And what we learned was so amazing that at the end of it, I was like, I've got to write a book about this. And that's the idea. And it's coming out. Running Press is my publisher, and it's coming out in September 2022. So in a few months.
Great. Well, that'll be exciting. So it's the next phase. And so I will say, as one who is over 65, this book is for me. So
actually,
sure.
I'm so glad you said that. This book is for everyone. The whole idea here is there's so much wisdom that we can learn from older people. And why don't we put them into use sooner? So that's really the idea. My point is wisdom learned early.
Yeah, you know what? That's such a thank you for saying that, because if we pay it, I always like to say, if we pay attention, we will end up wise. But there are very wise 20-year-olds. There are very wise and full of wisdom 30-year-olds. So yeah, tap into that. Is that part of that too?
That really is part of that. And very, a synopsis of the book would be, we're all same but different. And we all want the same things. We want love, purpose, friendship, and well-being. It's just how we get to those things is different. And older people actually really understand these things really, really well. And so if we listen to them, we can, in our 20s, use some of that wisdom, 30s, 40s. But then I don't want to give away the whole book, but there's some similarities that between people who are in their 20s and 60s, which you might already be seeing, John, with some of your kids and clients. It's really making those things apparent.
No, that's unquestionably. Now, you're also doing this project, or I'll call it a project, an endeavor during our pandemic, which is your virtual teas. Tell us about it.
So the virtual teas are the highlight of my week. They're every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, New York time. We do a 1-hour Design the Life You Love virtual tea, where we're about 50 to 60 people who gather and who use design principles to think about our life. And I started this during COVID because I didn't know what to do and how to help people. And I reached out to my community and I said, hey, would you like to get together once a week so we can share and learn from each other? And they were like, yeah. And I said, do you want us to follow the book and maybe do exercises and think about our life during COVID creatively? And they were like, yeah. And we're now like tea number 86 or 87. We're going on for 100 here. So, and
That's
it's a great community of people.
Now I'm going to turn the tables on. So conducting these virtual teas over a period of time, what have you learned, Ayse? So
isn't that the magic of teaching? And, I thought I was helping other people. It turns out they helped me. And really the thing is how this community comes together around with authenticity. Actually, we nicknamed the teas authenticity. It's the city of authenticity. And I'm
That's
the
clever.
so
Yeah.
and it's really using design principles of empathy and what if questions, collaboration, seeing the big picture, and the optimism of design to help each other think differently and to turn this challenge into an opportunity. I mean, everybody is invited, by the way, to all your listeners. It's an incredibly diverse group of people.
Great. I will put the note in the excuse me. I put that note in your the notes for the show. So you said something before I ask you the final question. It says design is being optimistic. What did you mean by that, or what do you mean by that?
So it's something that designers have because what does a designer do? You solve problems creatively. And so you constantly work with problems. But we have this optimism that no matter how hard the problem, we're going to come up with a better solution. And you have to believe that you're going to get through the messy middle of creativity to the other side and come up with a good solution. And that optimism actually carries us forward. And I think that's a great quality for all of us. We're all problem solvers of one way or another. And we just need to believe that, yeah, a lot of our challenges are really hard, but we can overcome them. And we can turn
Great.
challenges into opportunities. That's the
I love
optimism.
that, and you definitely, your book, Design Your Life, is a book of optimism because we're in the creating process. We're looking at ourselves and creating new possibilities. So now, so I always ask every guest a story about grace, and I know you have something to share with us. So
the thing that comes to my mind when you ask me about grace is really my kids. I have two daughters. They're 16 and 18. And I think since I've met them, I've become a better person. And so they are the grace in my life.
wonderful. That's a loving spirit of others, and that's really what grace is. Grace is a transformative experience, and it enables us to facilitate good. A grace is a gift given to us, no strings attached. And you with your kids and daughters, and kids are not always perfect, but neither are parents. But we learn from one another, I think. So.
Yes, I love what you said. And most of what I live in my household is they remind me that I'm not perfect. So I like
Oh, teenagers will do that. That's great.
Yeah.
Ayse, how can people find you? So
I think the easiest way to find me is to go to aysebirsel.com. And then you can subscribe to our newsletter. And from that, you'll get invitations to the virtual teas or announcements in my newsletter. So
great. Well, that will be in the notes. Ayse, I know you're extremely busy. It's an honor to have you on the show today. And I thank you. And with that, we're going to close out. So,
John, thank you. The honor is all mine. Thank you.